Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 639, recorded live on Monday, May 31st. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning to the show, Evilbeeker. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on a show that's in your wheelhouse, as it were. So,
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, so you don't get to do shows too often that just highlight your age.
This week's screenshot: Razalatek finds home while searching for treasure in the 511th screenshot of the week. I'm not entirely sure I know where that is.
I have no clue.
I'm kind of wondering if it's in the new quest that I know who done it has like different color rooms, but I've not actually been in the green room yet. I don't think because like each of the different bosses has like a different color doorway, and then the inside the room I think is kind of color coded as well. So it might be there, but I'm not 100% sure on there.
I believe that's the one quest I haven't done yet.
Oh, sure. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be this weekend. You can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com, with our calendar. Yeah, on the podcast this week. So we got missed last weekend. I was kind of hoping to get a show in the middle of the week, and then that just didn't pan out. So we're doing one today, and we'll cover the news, of which there was basically none. And then I kind of alluded to this before, but in the past we've done kind of a primer for the classic adventure modules that are coming to DDO. The next one being Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So Evilbeeker's here to kind of give us a little bit of a history lesson on what is Ghost of the Saltmarsh and what we might be able to expect when that comes live. We do have like a little bit of information on it, but not just kind of some technical things. Like I think they said they're planning on like 9 quests, kind of a thing. So this is just kind of continuing that tradition, if you will, to talk about the modules themselves, which I think has been a lot of fun. So that's kind of the plan where we're going today. Also, just a quick production note. We're doing this on Memorial Day. So that's a holiday in the U.S. where we honor and remember those who have served, and more specifically, those who have given their lives in service. So to those people and to their families, we do say thank you for that. It is a huge sacrifice for not just our country, but that's true of a lot of countries around the world. So we do just want to take a moment and say thank you to those people and their families.
Here.
On that note, let's go into game news. Like I said, here is the one newsworthy item that I put in my game news notes this week. Forum registration is active again. So there was an issue, I don't know, what, like 5-6 months, like last year, maybe? I don't even remember anymore. People weren't able to create a new forum account or log in for the first time because of issues. I think it was mostly they were trying to create a better system or one that was a little bit more robust in combating spamming and just people creating sock accounts or bot accounts or whatever kind of unhelpful accounts that they may have wanted to. So an issue has been fixed. People should now be able to create forum accounts or log in for the first time in a long time. So there you go. If you've been waiting to create a forum account, you can do that now. Congratulations. Welcome to the forums. Hi, welcome.
People don't realize that forums have been around for a really long time, going back to the days of AOL and Genie and some of those, um, you know, internet hosts, going back into the late 80s, early 90s. And unfortunately, the hackers have figured out how to infiltrate them. And for the people that do still have forums, because a lot of companies have dumped forums over the years, but for the companies
Probably
that still
wisely.
have forums, yeah, well, for the ones that do have forums, it is a major deal to keep them secure. And um, it doesn't surprise me that it took such a long time to get it fixed. It might be a forum that isn't supported anymore, or is supported not as much, and they had to figure out how to fix it. With the um, alternative being to dump them all together, which probably would be not looked at favorably.
Boy, howdy, if the community doesn't feel like the devs are listening to them now,
Right?
imagine what would happen if, oh, we're going to shut down the forums in a week.
Yeah.
That's
So I know 5 months might be a long time, but it it's really, forums are not as simple as they used to be. So
well, it's kind of funny that this is going completely tangential, but think back to the beginning of the pandemic and everyone is learning about this technology called Zoom. And then like
right,
what, a month later it's like, here's how to keep your Zoom meeting secure.
yeah. We have
So,
this. We use Teams at work, so it's the same thing
right.
for Teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Bonus days through today, plus 20% heroic and epic XP through May 31st. Uncharacteristically great timing for me. Like, I was actually able to take a lot of advantage for this, which is not the norm this time of year. Also, Crystal Cove is back through June 13th. There was no work done on it, so there's not any new items or anything like that. But if you were looking for Crystal Cove, there's an opportunity to run that. I haven't ever bothered to check if Crystal Cove is decent for XP. Like a lot of other challenges, the first time through is usually pretty decent. And it's just like Night Revels is a great. It's like, I mean, it's a good event in and of itself, but it's also like, here's 9 challenges that you can run really in 5 minutes each and get a bunch of XP kind of thing. But I don't think that's true of Crystal Cove. For one, I think it's like a 20-minute. It's been forever since I've ran this thing, like 20 minutes long, so it's not
Yeah.
great XP.
Honestly, I don't. I kind of gave up on the Crystal Cove quest. I like just running around the Explorer and testing my character.
Oh sure.
You know, testing your DPS, testing your spells and whatnot. Um, yeah, that's what I use it for, and I actually enjoyed it a lot.
Stores news. This is your final weekend to get A Wish of Inheritance through May 31st. That's when it's gonna. I'm sure it will be back again. I think someone actually even asked that. Yes, it will be on sale again. It's just they are on sale through May 31st. The sales otherwise are Rise Again, so 25% off of select reincarnation items, healing potions, spell point potions, quest XP elixirs through June 3rd. Also, you can get a free treasure compass and a free incense torch requisition with the coupon code AVAST. So if you're planning on running Crystal Cove, there you go. If you're not, I'm not sure what you would use that for. That'll take us to community news. I'll get to both chronicles. The 426th chronicle. Axel delves into the world of DDO convention swag in a new video. That was kind of fun to look at the different pieces of swag that have come out throughout the years. Did
I still have my monk T-shirt.
Oh, the one that I'm wearing?
Oh, are you wearing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
A
It's
little
in the
hard to see it
closet
from.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't see it in Discord very well.
you can't really. I mean, my mic is so big that it's hard to see, anyways. So,
Sure, sure.
um, that's kind of funny though. They've had a number over the years. There's a kind of a question that comes up recurringly of hey, how come we don't have more of these? And it really kind of comes back to there's a lot of legwork they have to go through to publish swag. I don't think it's part of their actual like agreement with Wizards of the Coast and whatnot. So it's unfortunately they don't do a lot of swag with it. But they've done some for conventions. And that's usually when it happens. And in truth, even most of that, to my understanding, is they make some stuff in house and they have extras and they take them to the conventions and give them away there. So, the guild for this week was Children of the Horned Rat, an Arganesson-based guild with relaxed rules. It is more casual than elite. Small guild has a Discord. Is more interested in finding great people than have large numbers of members. It's kind of a fun name, Children of the Horned Rat. I like that. Chronicle comment. What is the first question you should ask yourself before a boss encounter?
How many cakes do I have?
My answer to that would be no, you're out. Right? Like, if something bad happens, how am I running away? Let's see, the fan site news. We got a shout out for part 3 of our Building a Melee series. DDO Stream is the first stop to find DDO on Twitch. They gave shoutouts to Voodoo Spice, Bard Life, and Cordovan doing some tabletop. Shantacore tabletop as part of the D&D night stuff. On Twitch, they gave a shoutouts to Skull Priest 1210, rating on Argo, Sam Scarobo, getting Gear in Favor, and Leduc62, conducting a French language stream from Thelanis. On YouTube, Clorox DDO seizes the dawn. 6 Sides of Gaming headed to the Demon Web, and Studio 35 Gaming reviewed DDO as well. So some fun stuff happening there. Also, Linabelle and Shrimtom were theory crafting some enhancement tree stuff. They've been doing that a couple times. They've done that a couple times now, so it's kind of neat. Let's see. The 427th Chronicle, that's this week's Chronicle. They gave, for community spotlights, they gave shoutouts to both DDOcast and DDO Players News. So if you're hitting the road this summer, the Chronicle recommends that you listen to some DDO podcasts from us. Let's see. The guild for the week, the recruitment forums are also a great place to let guilds know you are looking. So translation, they probably need some more guilds to throw in the guild hall. If you'd like to advertise your guild, you can send an email to ddo@standingstonegames.com with the subject line Guild Hall to get your guild featured. Comment. Are copper, silver, gold, and platinum coins you collect the same size or different, and why? I kind of assume that they would be like the older style coinage. So, like they're not exactly the same size. Like they don't mint the same way like our current modern coinage is. So,
but typically gold for sure. I'm not quite sure about platinum. Has a hole in it typically. In a lot of old fantasy cultures. That goes back to ancient Egypt, where people would keep their money literally on a string, and because it had a hole in it, you'd put it on a string around your waist.
Also, conveniently, it would require less of the material.
Correct.
That's actually kind of a fascinating history question. Like, which happened first? Was the hole because people put it on a string, or was the hole because they were saving material and then people figured out they could put it on a string?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
Who knows? Let's see. Fan site news. DDO Players learns things in odd places. We got a shout out for our videos that we've been running on Hardcore server, which I've been doing some stuff on Hardcore, kind of casually attempting to get a Reaper Cloak with some friends. And I've just been recording, live streaming it, recording it, and putting it online as some videos as well. So you can find that on DDOCast.com or on our YouTube page as well, or on Twitch.
How long is Hardcore going till?
End of June. I think June 30th is the last day. I should double check that because it's probably gonna be a little tight on whether or not I make it to Reaper close, because I'm only playing like once a week, if that. So let's see. On DDO Stream, highlights Brock and Friends, Bard Life, and DDO PL. Twitch highlights are Apocalypse Dom, who's on the road for Reaper Wings. That's selling that. That's kind of bearing the lead there. He's trying to get Reaper Wings on Hardcore. Last I heard, he was past 60 Reaper points, so he's well on his way to doing that. Newbie Cowboy gets a Hardcore pet. and Deathy TV has dailies and sagas galore. On YouTube, Six Sides of Gaming finds druids, Ice Demon heads into Blacklock, and Soulful Plays went to Two-Toed Tobias. And Sip finds a party to end all parties, so you can read more on his BioBreak blog. And Cordovan was hanging out during the downtime this Wednesday for some Q&A on the weekly Wednesday lunchtime livestream. They had a longer maintenance period downtime on Wednesday, and then apparently the power went out at the studio or the server or something that kind of interrupted that progress. That worked. So
when I first saw the posting for that, it made it sound like the power outage made it go longer, but maybe I'm wrong on that because I think I saw it on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah. So the power outage, they didn't really go into detail in this, but what I understood that post to mean was the power went out somewhere that caused that work to be delayed because they couldn't do the work because they didn't have any power. So I don't know if that was like someone was working from home and was doing some maintenance stuff and their power went out.
I would say that would probably be the guy that had to do the work. His home power or internet went out. Yeah.
But it ended up being a couple hours longer than anticipated. And I think that was their kind of longer. I think they're kind of going in this cadence where like once a month the Wednesday downtime is going to be a little bit longer for a little extra maintenance, just to try to help maintain a healthier status of the world. So that's kind of what it sounded like happened there. Let's see, D&D night on DDO stream. Check out that's Sunday 7 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/DDO stream. We both DM some of that and play in some of that and have a blast. There's 4 or 5 kind of, or 3 or 4 like reoccurring groups, and then kind of some other shorter stint stuff there. If you'd like to,
yeah, you. I'm sorry, you ran your lava divers last night, right?
No.
Oh, okay. So we didn't have one last night.
Yeah, we didn't have one last night.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't around to run it, so I couldn't push play or anything. So, and it.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Twitch doesn't let us schedule those anymore.
I know, so mean. But most Sundays we usually have something going on there. The month that we have a 5th Sunday, sometimes things get a little crazier. But this week should be Rime of the Frost Maiden, and then Oracle of Whirl, which is the one that I DM, will be the weekend after that. But yeah, so if you want to check out some tabletop D&D, you can check that out. You can also find it on YouTube or on Twitch as well. So for the DDO stream stuff. And then DDOCast news, like I said, we're doing some, been playing on hardcore, so I've been doing shorter videos of that. My guild has also been doing, which you mentioned, some tabletop D&D. We're doing Descent into Avernus. So I've been pushing those out on YouTube and Twitch as well, and DDOCast.com. I'm pretty much just at the point where if I publish a video, it's on all 3. I put them on all 3 of those platforms. So if you want to watch it on Twitch or YouTube, or you just want to go to DDOCast.com, any one of those will work, and you can find the content there and watch what you want to watch. But that's what's going on there. I am with my guild's D&D is kind of doing them as shorter, trying to do like 1.5 hours as opposed to 3-hour long videos, to make them a little bit more bite-sizey. At least that's kind of the goal. So, but yeah, so that's what's going on there. You can also follow us on @DDOCast on Twitter to kind of see when that stuff gets posted and when we're doing live shows and all that fun stuff. And when we're just kind of generally going live on Twitch. Sometimes that's kind of ad hoc-y. But kind of generally right now, Fridays is when we've been playing hardcore. When it gets past baseball season, I'll probably stream some more DDO when I have more time again. And we've also been doing 7 Days to Die with the Damsels, released Mithri and Rent, and like every other Friday. So there's some stuff going on. Feel free to come and hang out with us, and feel free to ask me questions while we're live. That's always fun too. Yeah, that'll kind of covers all the news, I think. So let's talk about Ghosts of Saltmarsh. What is it? What does it mean? Tell us about all of Saltmarsh, Evilbeeker.
Well, before I do that, I'm going to go back and ask you a
Oh
question
boy,
and say now this was announced in the producer's letter, correct?
that sounds right.
Okay. Did he actually say Ghosts of Saltmarsh? Or did he say Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh?
Oh, I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, so there is a small difference. My guess is it's going to be Ghosts of Saltmarsh, or something similar in that title. I don't know if they can use the exact title for the release, although they did do Keep on the Borderlands, so it kind of depends. So the Saltmarsh campaign dates back to the early 80s. But before I talk about that, let's talk about TSR UK. So, for people who didn't know, TSR had a branch in the UK. I think it started in the mid 80s, early 80s, mid 80s. Yes, from what I can see here. Um, so TSR and D&D got really popular in the late 70s. That's when the big push came, and there really wasn't any distribution channels to overseas. So what Gary Gygax and his team did is they had a deal with Games Workshop, who was in its infancy at that time. I mean, long before Warhammer and all those kind of things. And what they did was they resold, TSR product out there. So, but when TSR made a proposal to merge with Games Workshop, now this article says merge. I'm going to say buy because there's no way Gary would have merged, um, you know, his ass, his cash cow on purpose. So I'm going to say buy. Well, that fell through, or it never happened, or they said no. And then after that, they instead they formed TSR UK. So that was, according to this article, was March of 1980. Um, so in addition to distributing um, product overseas, I don't know how. I'd have to go back and talk to some of my older TSR friends to see if there was any specifics. But what they started doing is they started writing. They had a group of writers out there, and they started writing modules. And the first three were Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, Danger at Dunwater, and The Final Enemy. That is the Saltmarsh trilogy. Now there was a dozen after that, but clearly those three were the best that ever came out of TSR UK.
So just to jump in really quick,
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
question about the producer's letter. It does specifically say the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh.
Okay, but we'll cover Ghosts of Saltmarsh too. So and then after those three modules, they did a couple, and I've actually played in a few of these over the in my early D&D years. They're not the greatest. They were okay, and then at some point in time, they just stopped doing them. And then TSR UK, as an branch office of TSR, was shut down around 85, 86. They actually had a magazine that they did called where is it in this article here? Imagine, uh, which covered D&D and a bunch of other sci-fi fantasy stuff that was going on, and that had 30 issues. And right after they killed that, then they basically stripped down TSR UK to nothing more than a warehouse. So, but again, the best thing that probably came out of TSR UK was the Saltmarsh trilogy. So, a lot of people, and obviously Patrick, yourself included, remember the release from 2 years ago called The Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Well, that was the 5th edition release that kind of redid those original 3 adventures. Now, the thing is when WotC does these campaign books, they want to take you from like 1st to maybe 10th 11th or 12th level. Well, you're not going to get that with just those 3 modules. So what they did was they took some other modules that had been previously published, and a couple of them were done by the authors who worked on Ghosts of Saltmarsh. If I actually have my copy right in front of me here, and if I open it up, it'll say, Mike Merrill's, Wolfgang Bauer, Steve Winter, and Jeremy Crawford. Some of those guys worked on some of these other fill-in adventures. I think one was a Dungeon Magazine adventure. A couple of them were 3rd edition one-shots that WotC used to put out, and then kind of like a higher level finale to it. But the original 3 are in here: the Sinister Secret, Danger at Dunwater, and the Final Enemy. That was the product that came out in 2019.
Which
If
you
you're
say I
looking for,
remember, which is really more accurate, so that I'm aware of it
sure,
and was
sure.
looking at it. It was one of the modules that was pseudily considered for like my Lava Divers D&D night,
Hmm.
because although it didn't, it wasn't very seriously considered because we were more interested in some of the other things. But
Yeah, it's kind of a, uh, I mean, it's a acquired taste. It's I like I like the original 3. Actually really like Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I played it. I played probably the first couple of chapters in it, with when I was still playing Adventures League. It is a good module. It has a lot of it does a lot of what the original series didn't. It has the town of Saltmarsh. It put it did more detail on it than had ever been presented in the original 3 modules. Um, so there's quite a bit of um, information, and really a good 5th edition campaign. I liked it. I would love to run it sometime. I run way too many games right now as it is. Um, but let's go back and talk about the originals. So I'm sorry, Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh was the first one, and that was written by Dave Brown and Don Turnbull. Um, I forget which. I think it was Dave was actually lived in the U.S. and I think Don was overseas. I don't remember that. That might be incorrect. But the original setting was set in the world of Greyhawk, the original TSR campaign world. Now, in the Ghosts of Saltmarsh book, they actually give you some options if because there's still many people that still run World of Greyhawk. Forgotten Realms is the default campaign for 5th edition, but World of Greyhawk is still very popular out there, and in fact they have their own fan site kind of magazine that they publish stuff on it every other month, and it's actually really good if you want to look for it. Um, but so the original module they said could be played with 5 to 10 characters. Now, I personally have never ran 10 characters in a group, but hey,
if you
whatever
only
turns you on, I
want your
guess.
players to have one turn every hour and a half, that's how you do it.
Yep, exactly. Um, but it was from 1st to 3rd level, and basically you came to this town called Saltmarsh, and on the outskirts of town there was this cliff overlooking the ocean, and in that cliff that was the evil alchemist's mansion. And I could see why this would be attractive to DDO, because hey, you got an alchemist. How many high level alchemist bosses do we have in DDO right now? I don't know of
None.
any. Exactly. So, um, the and I won't go into the detail. I won't spoil it for everybody. The module was divided into 2 parts. There was investigating the house, and then investigating the sinister secret behind Saltmarsh. And if you played Ghost of Saltmarsh, that module includes a lot of role playing about the town, what's going on, why the stuff happening at the old mansion affects the town, and things like that. It's a really good 1st level adventure. Um, and I mean, back in the day, this module was getting, reviews 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 reviews. I think on the all-time list of adventures, that everybody, at some point there was, over the years, there's been a couple of polls, what's your favorite adventure? This series ranks in the 20 to 30 range of adventures published. So very, very popular and I think a really good module. So the second one is called Danger at Dunwater. So once you solve the sinister secret of Saltmarsh and slay the evil alchemist, this would have been another quest that the leaders of Saltmarsh were going to send you on. And the basic plot is there's a swamp nearby, and that swamp is filled with lizard men. And the rumor is that they're massing for an assault on Saltmarsh. That might be what happens. You'd have to play it or wait for DDO to find out. But your main combatants there are the lizard men, and then going through their lair. I can definitely see DDO, having several adventures in that area, just revolving around the lizard men. Are they friend or foes? Here, you do this to help them, you do this to go against them, things like that. Again, received very popular reviews, and then this was levels 1 to 4. I think when we did this module years ago, we started out at level 2 and we ended up at level 5 by the end of the final one.
You mean all three together, or just this one specifically?
No, well, no, all three together. But I think by the time we were done, we were level 5. So, and then, well, I mean, obviously with Ghosts of Saltmarsh, it's a little different because they kind of change it up a little bit after the first 2 in Ghosts of Saltmarsh. It kind of changes a little bit because that's where all the additional content is kind of filtered in. Danger in Dunwater, that was the second module. And then you know what, it's important to note, let me go back to Sinister Secret. Actually, Sinister Secret wasn't the one I was thinking of. Danger at Dunwater. So Danger at Dunwater, if you ever see the cover of it, it's by a gentleman named Tim Truman, who really, I wouldn't call him one of the, the namesake artists of TSR, but a lot of people really liked his work, including me. And right on the cover is a great shot of a sea monster and another guy, which we'll talk about here in a second. But really a cool art, and a lot of the interior art is done by a lot of the old mainstay artists. Jim Holloway was the one that always stood out for me. And then the final one of the originals is called The Final Enemy. So the Final Enemy this is where you get into probably the first module that really had Sahagwin as the bad guys. Now, I had to look up because there's always been this huge question mark on how to pronounce Sahagin.
It's a dwarven word, and it's pronounced Sawajin. Well,
according to Chris Perkins, the Gin at the end is always pronounced Jin. Sahag-Jin or Sahagin. That was what he said. Everybody pronounced. I've heard at least 5 different pronunciations of it.
Only 5.
I've always called them Sahagin, but that was me.
That's actually how I've pronounced them too. So we've got consensus.
Yeah, but I think I've heard at least 3 different pronunciations of it in DDO. But anyway, this is the first real quest because the bad guys, the final enemy, is the Sahagin, and they're the ones that are looking to, overrun Saltmarsh, and you guys got to go in there and defeat them. And that was the basic thing there. And that module was levels 3 to 5. Now, the big thing with this one is by the time the third module came out, the first 2 had already been so positively received that they threw a big time artist at it in Keith Parkinson. If you don't know who Keith Parkinson is, He passed away years ago from cancer. One of the great TSR artists. Um, look him up, and I'm sure you can buy prints from him somewhere if you really were interested. But this is kind of where, in this module at least, they kind of up the production quality a little bit of it. I don't know if they actually put any of Keith's artwork in Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I haven't had a chance to page through and look at it. But then that was it. That was the end of it. So if DDO is going to do the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, then obviously they're only going to be focusing on the 3 adventures. The other ones that are included in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, their names are Salvage Operation, which was published in 2005, Isle of the Abbey, which was published in 1992, Tamarat's Fate, which was published in 2004, and The Styes, which is published in 2005. My guess is they might not have the rights to do anything from those, so they're kind of sticking with the original 3.
Well, also the original 3, I think, would be a little bit more contained, right? Like,
Yep.
they're not. You're trying to do a mini expansion, whatever the hell that means. But they've said like they want to do 9 adventures, so I would think that taking the first 3 would be
Yep.
much more contained as opposed to something that's going from level 1 to 4 or 2 to 5 ish. Be a lot, at least from an original context, and expanding that into DDO, as opposed to having like 1 to 10. That's a lot of content.
And one thing that I like, if it is the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, and like to keep on the Borderlands, I love that because hopefully that's bringing in the old DDO or D&D players to DDO, right? They're like, hey, they translated Keep on the Borderlands. They did, Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. Someday they'll do Isle of Dread.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, that will be my next classic D&D night adventure, by the way.
Isle of Dread.
But yeah, Isle of Dread.
Nice.
So the other thing that I kind of wanted to say about Ghosts of Saltmarsh is this product also has something that I'm kind of hoping that they maybe try to do in DDO. I don't know if they will or not, but it actually contains rules for ship-to-ship combat. Now, that kind of spoils something. That means you're going to be on a boat at some point. But going back years and years for D&D, stuff like mass combat or ship-to-ship combat has always been hit and miss. I really like the system that they have in Ghosts of Saltmarsh. It's very simple. It's very elegant. It's not as complicated as
it's been that kind of stuff has been mostly missed in DDO, unfortunately, because we do have like airship combat, but it's like the clunkiest of combat around. Like it's not streamlined. It's very clunky.
Right. So we'll see.
Like, underwater combat would be another one that.
Yes, and the final enemy is definitely the majority of that adventure is underwater. So expect to see much like the Red Fens finale. You're going to see some underwater stuff probably in that one. But hopefully they'll kind of mix it up and they'll say, once you're in the facility, it's not underwater anymore, type of thing. Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I think it's a good pick. There are several, kind of like 3-episode, 3-module series out there in classic D&D. I mean, I know Jerry likes the old Pharaohs series of D&D. Ravenloft was actually a 2-parter, but then they grabbed the Curse of Strahd, which was more of a campaign type of thing. But there's some others out there. Oh, the Slavers, obviously. I mean, really good adventures that translate pretty well to DDO. I think this is a really good choice for a next conversion.
So, like, setting wise, we're kind of probably expecting coastal water seafaring kind of adventure-y.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, obviously they can't set it in the world of Greyhawk or the Forgotten Realms, but there's plenty of places in Eberron to kind of make this happen. Heck, you
Well,
could put it
we've done quote Greyhawk stuff before, right? Like the whole
ish. Yeah,
Gatekeeper's Grove stuff is all kind of like take this
right.
portal to this mysterious land.
Yeah, they don't necessarily call it. I think this would be awesome for something like Korthos, or at least a Korthos-like setting where you have, um, because Saltmarsh is just it's basically a landlocked city, but it's on an ocean. Now they don't necessarily say
They
ocean, but Saltmarsh
they
is
did
kind of
say what
implied.
level they were looking at doing, but I don't remember what it was. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just said it for the pack that just came out. But I thought they said what level range they were thinking about for Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
I mean, in my mind, you would go right from Keep on the Borderlands right into Saltmarsh.
They did that with great gatekeepers though, because like if you think about like where they've put stuff recently, so you've got Keep on the Borderlands level 1, 2, Gatekeepers 3, Feywild is 5, 6,
Okay.
Ravenloft is 10. I think I want to say I remember something like 8, 7, 8, 9 ish range. The other
Yeah.
place I think that we might see something is like 13, 14, because there hasn't been anything in that range for a long while.
Yeah, and that actually brings up a good point because, like you said, some of those like Ravenloft is 10, but then Slavers is 6, 7, 8, and then Temple is 7, 8, 9,
Slave Lords is
isn't it?
7.
Yeah,
It's
7, 8, and I think
7.
it's
They're all the
is it
same level.
7?
They're all the same level.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, and then
And
Temple is
or I think
7, 8. Well, I'm
Temple 7, Slave Lords is 8. I think that sounds right.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean
The
that
chat
would
saying Slave
maybe
Lords is 8.
yeah
That
maybe
sounds
that
right.
I mean maybe that's the thing you get your campaign path. So you start at Keep, and then you work your way all the way up to Saltmarsh. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, you could do Sharn, and then
There's not really anything.
Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, that's into 20.
And then that would take you to 20. Yep. So, and then fill in the blanks in between. But for the people that I mean, I know everybody has their favorite quest. I love doing the series. Go from one series to one series to one series to one series. So
I mean, there's definitely kind of a story arc ish going there. The classic packs have all been really good. I think my least favorite one is Temple of Elemental Evil, um, but that's just because they're long, and
mhm.
part two is part two for me. I boil down to go in this large area, find little tiny object. Go into other
Yeah,
large area, find another little tiny object.
it has two things in it that I mean I love Temple of Elemental Evil. When we played it on tabletop, it was probably my top 3 of the funnest games I've ever played. And but in DDO, it has two very annoying things: what you just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and a very tedious crafting system.
Yeah. If
So
they were to do it again, Temple of Elemental Evil again, what I would kind of hope they would do is uh, break it up into a bunch of small, like you're each quest, like a bunch of quests that you're going into this small area, right? Like so, like part 2, you could break it into 5 quests, right? Like part 1, go into the air temple, part 2, go into the fire temple, part 3, go into the earth temple for the water, and then if after you do those all, go fight Zuggetmoy as like a raid, right? Because she really kind of is a raid boss for all intents and purposes.
yes,
And I think that would actually be a much more palpable, and they have definitely skewed towards shorter quests in recent times. So, but those ones are
yeah, it
like
is.
if you do all of part 2, I mean, you're probably going to be in there for 40 minutes to an hour.
Hour easy. You
Yeah,
can Zerg part 1 pretty quick if you know what you're doing, but part 2, yeah. I mean, and then look at part 2 of Slavers. That sucker is
yeah.
a beast too. I mean, that's really long. So I mean, we'll see. If they're breaking into 9 quests, I would say 3 for each for each of the classic modules. I think that would probably work out really well. And then if they have the, if WotC's going to let them dip into Ghosts of Saltmarsh, the actual ending, what you would consider the 10th level tabletop boss fight, is actually a really good one. And, but it wasn't part of the original module. So
Right.
I guess it's all going to depend on the licensing agreement.
Probably just Sinister Secrets of Saltmarsh. They might come back and do more of it later, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's the first module, the literally Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, great starter module for a group that is, if you're a player and you want to do investigative role playing, which isn't for everybody, but if you want to do real investigative role playing, it's a great module. It really is. So,
and hopefully we expect them to keep doing classic packs too. So like I think several have said a couple times this year specifically, like they're some of our most popular content. We want to keep, like, everybody loves them. We love making them. You love running them. We want to do more. So,
and it seems like WotC's a lot more open to letting people redo their old stuff. I mean, Goodman Games is redoing a ton of different stuff. They've redone. They redid Temple in 5th edition. They redid Keep on the Borderlands and a lot of the old classic adventures. And I think there's more. Well, not to pimp other D&D computer games, but it looks like there's more of those coming out. So,
I'll tell you, after having run the first couple parts of it, DDO doing Oracle of War, that would be fun. Going into the Mournland, that would be fun.
I'm glad you ran that, because that series has actually been very popular.
I'm enjoying it a lot. So.
Yeah.
Check it out on D&D Night on DDO stream, or on DDOCast, DDOCast.com. We have the videos there as well. So.
And for people who may not know, D&D 5th edition does have several Eberron books that are very well written. So.
Well, thanks for joining us and for talking Sinister Secrets of Saltmarsh, and looking forward to it. And thanks for clearing me up on Ghosts of Saltmarsh and Sinister Secrets.
Well,
I saw that
I saw that in your show notes, and I was like, you know what? I thought that the producer's letter said something different, but
it says Sinister Secrets of Saltmarsh. So.
Well, and that could be a flip as well. Maybe they got the full.
I doubt it. I think I'm just conflating the two things.
I mean, one thing to add though too is, the 5th edition Curse of Strahd book, they didn't put that whole book into DDO. They put a lot of it into DDO.
Right.
But there was several parts of that book that were not in DDO. One of them was my most favorite part of the whole adventure, and they didn't include it in there. So we'll see. They could be calling it Ghosts of Saltmarsh, but maybe it's just the first 3 original modules.
No, I mean, they called it, the producer letter specifically says Sinister Secrets, so we'll go with that. And Patrick is not that big of a lore guy, so he doesn't know what he's doing. Anyways,
close enough for me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the show. Thanks to all the contributors for DDOcast, and Sandstone Games and Wizards of the Coast, and the Cyberbears for hosting the podcast. Do you want to plug some stuff, sir?
Just D&D Night. Check us out. We have a lot of fun doing it. Actually, I do have one other thing to plug. Unless the schedules change, I'll be on Drax Show next week, and we're going to be talking about the latest Ravenloft book. Because Drax got to talk Ravenloft. So we have some good and bad things to say about it. So check out DDO Players. We're going to record, I think, on Monday, and then so they'll probably be released later in the week.
Sure. Well, hey, if you'd like to support this show, you can visit our website at DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage, or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows and other fun stuff, including tabletop adventures and DDO and some other games as well. If you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment or you can email us at DDOCast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us latest cast updates at DDOCast on Twitter is the best place. And until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.